Hi, I'm Gwen. I'm a food addict. I practice a two-way prayer almost every day, and it's been hugely important to my spiritual condition. And I would like to read for you the one that I wrote this morning. Dear God, thank you for so many blessings appearing in my life and all around me. Thank you for the recording of Sandy Beach this morning talking about steps 1 and 2. That is nothing less than a miracle. I had been thinking of looking up Sandy B talk about steps 1 and 2, and it was placed in the recommended videos on top this morning. The things I desire come to fruition. If I only wait, you give them to me. You give me clear guidance that I'm able to recognize when it appears. My senses have been open to seeing things that were there before, but my attention was so shackled to the loud, demanding noise of everyday life, I couldn't see your gifts in front of me. No wonder I thought you had abandoned me. It was I who had stopped looking to you for guidance. I was looking at the earthly realm to fill my soul, and it never satisfied me. I'm ready for whatever the day brings, and my intention for this day is to be the love in the room, that you are in me and speaking through me. It's been very busy the past couple of weeks, and I am blessed and honored to be here sharing my recovery. I pray it will help others find their way home to you. Love, your favorite daughter, Gwen. And his response: Dearest Gwen, you are indeed traveling the path that was meant for you. You have learned and accepted as truth that your family has been trapped in a cycle over and over. The process of healing has begun. But first, someone needed to clearly see the truth before anything could have the potential to change. Don't fall asleep to the truth, but share it with your family as a spiritual toolkit and lay it at their feet. They can only understand the truth by looking at it of their own free will. You need not worry about how they receive the truth, only to share it with them and leave them to decide what they believe. Be where you are. Focus on the person who is in front of you. Be undivided in your attention. Eat well, sleep. Rest when you feel overwhelmed. Step back often and keep connected with me. You will experience what was written in a very popular spiritual book. They will walk and not faint. They will take up with wings as eagles. And he signed it, I am divine love and divine truth. Learning the absolute truth has set you free. Now go and free others. And since I am talking about honesty, I need to practice my two-way prayer being 100% honest about how I'm feeling. And if I'm trying to pretend that I'm someone I'm not, he doesn't respond to that. Bill W. wrote honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness were indispensable. That means I need to know what God's truth is, because mine is all jumbled up, scrambled, and mixed up, like a 3D maze puzzle that was shared in the pre-convention workshop today. So I had to look at, how does God see me? That's the kind of truth I needed to see. Whatever spiritual background you come from, look and see what the teachings are that say you're a beautiful and wondrous creation, that you're the pinnacle of all his creation. I'm his favorite daughter. Everybody gets to be his favorite daughter. Everybody gets to be his favorite son. When I started reflecting those things in my two-way prayer, I started getting that back. Like, yes, you are my favorite daughter. Yes, you are doing well. Yes, sometimes it's difficult, but you are growing when it's difficult. When it's not difficult, you're not growing. Darn, I was expecting Easy Street. So many things I have had to be honest about were hard. I didn't want to admit that I was an addict of any kind, let alone with food. Food was my first love. When I didn't know where else to run, my honesty was I had to have food in order to feel okay. I didn't know how to feel okay unless I was eating something that gave me comfort. It might not have been God's truth, but it was my truth. And when I shared my truth in my two-way prayers, God honored that by helping me along. I've tried lots of different ideas about who this God of my understanding is along the way. I have had varying degrees of honesty I was able to practice. In the beginning, I thought, do I really have to divulge this or divulge that? I don't ever want to tell anybody this or ever tell anybody that. There was so much I was afraid to open up and reveal. In the beginning, it was excruciating. I got into recovery September 4th of 2012. I was struggling with alcohol. I had graduated from food to alcohol when I was 18. I found out the effects of alcohol lasted longer, and for 33 years I went down that road until I checked myself into treatment. There, I had to be honest about how much I was drinking, and I didn't want to be honest. They asked me, how much do you drink? Oh, not that much. Not that much honesty there. I checked myself in because I couldn't stop. Well, when it came to food, how much did I eat? Same answer. Not that much. People hardly ever saw me eat. I didn't eat compulsively in front of other people. I would eat anything and everything I wanted when I was alone, or eat in the car on the way to dinner, and again on the way home after dinner. It was my drug, and I was keeping it all to myself. I practiced honesty in small, steady increments. I didn't know that I had a freaking disease. When I found out the truth from reading the doctor's opinion that this was an allergy, I actually got some hope from that. It's a medical condition. Wow, this is not a moral failing? You're kidding. I was always ashamed of not being able to handle my liquor and then unable to handle my eating. Everyone around me would say, well, just quit. It's so simple. Why don't you quit? What's wrong with you? You must not want to. I don't have that problem. What's wrong with you? People do not understand how this disease affects us. I didn't want to be honest when I went to treatment in 2012, but I was desperate to stop, and I was so afraid of failure that I did everything that was suggested. I asked the counselor before I made the commitment to go, hey, what's your way to recover here? Like I had any choice, right? Recovery is 100% for those who follow the suggestions. Oh my God, I grabbed onto that. I wanted that. It says in the big book, like a drowning man grabs onto a life preserver. I couldn't fail. I was more afraid of failing than I was to do whatever they suggested. I was given the gift of desperation. I was willing to listen to anyone who could tell me how to avoid failure. I had to be honest about other things I was doing too. Everyone in the group shared their drug of choice plus other substances. When it was my turn, I thought, I'll just keep quiet about the stuff that isn't a problem, and just hang on to that. But when it was my turn, something in me said, just throw that out there too. Where'd that come from? So I admitted to that too. Damn it. I had been able to be more honest than I wanted. I had help. I did not know that was happening at the time. Another thing that I heard in treatment was only 1 in 10 who go through treatment will be sober in 5 years. 1 in 10? I never ranked myself as top of the class ever, but this time I did. I clung to that because I was so afraid of the shame of failure. I desperately needed that 100% guarantee of recovery. My ego would not permit failure. When I got a couple of years clean and sober, the food became a problem again. My highest weight was 254 pounds. I tried using other fellowships to get a handle on my eating behavior, and to no avail. But I thought I was turning my life over to God, telling Him the truth, but I had to be honest about my food being out of control. Why me? I'm losing that too, but I've been placed in this position and can relate to more people because I've had problems with these things. I've had issues with codependence and people pleasing, but God has been so good to me. He has lifted those compulsions right out of my brain. Just gone. It was enough honesty to set me on the path. The last resentment I had was on July 22nd, 2024. I've had a few instances of step 10 annoyances, but those things, now they bounce off of me. How is that possible? First of all, I had to be honest about who I thought I was and who God says I am. I had to align with God's truth instead of trying to present the world with my idea of the truth. So when Bill Wilson talks about honesty being a cornerstone, you can't get recovery without it. It was embarrassing and humbling to open up, and I cried opening up. But people came and comforted me. God came and comforted me because I was connecting with the truth, and God honors the truth. I did it with as much sincerity and honesty as I could. I kept asking myself, am I being honest? Am I being open-minded? Am I being willing? I didn't understand what I was asking myself, but failure wasn't an option, and God was honoring my honesty. He connects with feelings. I found out that God's language is feelings. So if you don't want to feel your feelings, you can't connect. And that's been just like wow. So that's what's going on here. I have had lots of different versions of who I thought God was. Nature, the group, my sponsor. I was God's employer for a while. It was his job to keep me on the path to succeeding. I had learned some Buddhist teachings that I followed for a while. I found truths in those teachings too. There were some things in my childhood religion that I couldn't stomach. I couldn't turn my will and my life over to the care of a God that I didn't trust. I didn't know why I didn't trust God. My upbringing and how I learned and how I got beaten around by life, so much garbage plugged up this channel or pipeline to that mysterious spiritual connection Bill W. was shouting from the hilltops about. I have a little rock in my pocket a fellow OA paints messages on. She leaves them anonymously for others at different functions. What a beautiful service. I brought it along because I felt I was supposed to bring it. I passed it around later, but it came back to me. I think it was meant for someone. It has the word hope painted on it. How fitting is that? I'm here to literally bring hope. When I found ways to connect with my higher power, it gave me hope. But some days I couldn't connect at all, and I discovered I wasn't really seeking the truth. How do I find the truth? I started thinking, how did Bill Wilson, the guy who started this brouhaha, how did he stay sober for 6 whole months without a program, without a sponsor, without all the support, without phone lines, without a big book? How did he do that for 6 months without relapsing and for the rest of his life, he went and talked to drunks, pulled them off bar stools, and said, "You gotta hear. You gotta see what I've seen. You gotta see what I've seen." Dr. Silkworth finally said, "Bill, you gotta lay off the spiritual stuff, the God stuff. Drunks don't care about that." They wouldn't listen to his preaching. They told him, "You're nuts. Go away, go away." Silkworth said, "You've got to hammer home the allergy of the body that condemns them to drinking themselves to death, that they are beyond human aid." I have to be honest with myself. This is the truth, that if I ingest any of these alcoholic food or drinks into my body, it sets off the same allergy and the compulsion to overeat. It takes over my brain. It gets my brain squirreling around like a hamster on a wheel. It won't stop, and it's never good. It's always garbage that it's telling me how I'm horrible, how I can't do it, and what makes me think I can do it, and what makes me think I'm special or anything. And it's always so degrading. And that's what that little bit of alcoholic food does to me. So, this is a truth I need to accept. Every time I ingested those substances or ingredients, that's what I was doing to my brain. I was impairing my brain from functioning correctly. Oh, that's a heavy one. Another thing I had to be honest about is when I was growing up, I had sexual abuse when I was 7 or 8 years old. I don't remember much about it except the person told me I couldn't tell. I wasn't allowed to tell, and I didn't for 43 years. I didn't tell anybody because I was ashamed of it. I thought it was my fault. I didn't even really know what it was until I was in the seventh grade, and I heard the teacher talking about sex education, and she said, "It's not dirty, but it's natural, and this is just how your body works." All these girls in the classroom were laughing, and I thought, "Ah, they're laughing at me. They know what I did." I thought they were laughing at me. They were just laughing at the subject. But when you're that age, you don't, oh man, if you don't fit into the herd, I mean, I shriveled up like a, what the hell shrivels up? Oh, lots of people laughed at that. A crab that sucks himself back into the shell, or a turtle. And so I never talked about it. And I just went on. I didn't pretend, I just pretended it didn't exist. I was living a lie. It hadn't happened. Pretending that everything was okay. I was fine. But deep down, that little girl in me was saying, "There's something not right here. This isn't right. This isn't right. This isn't who you are." And I felt like there was this tugging at me my whole life. Tugging at me, you know? You get that feeling like you just feel like uneasy and anxious, and you don't know where it's coming from. I think that was that little girl inside me tugging, "No, you're going the wrong way. You need to go that way and tell the truth. You need to be honest and open up." I was too scared to do that. And you know, when you're a kid, you don't know how to handle that. I think a lot of people have had similar experiences. We are taught to hide those things and sweep them under the rug. I thought, if I say something, so and so will get in trouble, and I felt obligated to protect them and not me. I told myself I've got to keep quiet, or so and so would get into trouble because of me. It became my responsibility to protect the reputation of that person. I didn't want to be a snitch because a snitch is no good. That's what I learned as a child. In early recovery, I did not open up to the group about it. I went to a therapist where I regurgitated those buried feelings in writing. I couldn't even say it out loud. That's when I learned 1 in 4 women are sexually abused in their lifetime. Where was I going to learn that if I had never been honest about it? I would have gone to the grave believing I was worthless and didn't deserve to be protected, loved, or safe. I blinded myself to the truth by telling myself that it didn't really happen, that it wasn't real. I was just imagining it. I did the same thing with food. I'm not really eating this. Whatever I have before noon doesn't count. I have big bones. It's not that bad. It's just growing pains. I was unable to face the truth. It was scary to open up and let that stuff out. When it was scary, I was honest about feeling scared. I was honest about my feelings and I cried without trying to hide the tears. I even had to cry honestly and feel all those feelings. I had earned those tears and they would not be denied. When you talk with a sponsor, if you can be honest, you're going to go a long way. But here's the thing about honesty and having a spiritual toolkit laid at your feet. If I felt obligated to tell the truth, to work the steps, obligated to do something, and I felt this little twinge in the back of my mind, just a little one that transmitted fear or doubt. I don't really want to do this, but okay, I'll do it. Deep down, the truth was I didn't want to do it. So that's not being 100% honest. That little bitty twinge in the background there derails your honesty. So that if you're only 99% honest, it's like you're 0% honest. It's either going all the way or it doesn't work. And God of my recovery God, is very, very patient and very, very compassionate and very understanding. He knows what I've been through. He knows what the truth is. He just needs me to open up and let it out. He won't come in and get it because that would be violating my free will. I need to open up and let it out. If I wait for someone to pull it out of me, I'm not doing it of my own free will. So honesty has to be of your own free will. Not, this is something I'm supposed to do. I'm checking the boxes. I'm dotting the I's. I'm crossing the T's. It has to be you are doing it because you're willing to do it, because you want to do it, because you're okay with doing it. Even if you take a little bitty step in the direction of opening up. It's like watching a time-lapse video of a flower opening. It just happens because the conditions are right. So that's kind of how it happened for me. He shined his love on me and helped me open up. He didn't pry me open or take anything away. He doesn't do that at all. That's against his nature. God waited for me patiently, lovingly, gently guiding me through my quest to find him. The God of my understanding, in all honesty, is everything Bill W. claimed and more. That is my experience. Recovery God. I'm calling him Recovery God. Because the God of my religion, I couldn't make that work. I needed to be honest about how my belief of my higher power was working. And I tried to make God of my religion work. I tried. But I just kept relapsing and relapsing and relapsing. I was abstinent for about 18 months in 2018, and then I relapsed. And it took me 5 years to get abstinent again. I'm on 19 months of recovery from food addiction now. This has been a huge factor in that I have to share my honesty and I've got to find what God's truth is. And the truth that he says to me is that I'm worthwhile, that he has work for me to do, that he wants me to help other people to find him. It's been, honestly, it's been kind of like a scavenger hunt, which is awesome because I like games. I like fun because sometimes recovery can be like, okay, we're trudging along, we're trudging along. Could we have some fun? So deep down in my soul, there's this pleading. When are we going to have some fun? When can we have some fun? Can we please have some fun? Because inside me, that little girl had her childhood cut short. She was still dying for some fun. One of the things I need for a fit spiritual condition is to play and to play and to be okay with playing. That's another thing I had to be honest about. I need fun just like I need air. The kid in me wanted to have fun again. So I found some different ways to play. I've got to show you this one. I watch a lot of videos and I saw one with a lady that had a bubble wand and she just had fun with it. I took this bubble maker to the airport to pick someone up. I turned it on and held it on top of my roof with bubbles flying everywhere, passing by 20 or 30 cars with people everywhere watching. This crazy clown floating on through, and oh my God, it was so much fun. I wish I had been able to video record that, but it's in the hearts and minds of about 200 people. Having fun is something that God wants me to do. He wants everybody to do. He wants us to have healed hearts. And if we're always trudging away at the grind, I can't get this. I can't get this. Ask yourself, why? What am I doing wrong? Try some play. Try some play. Because play nurtures your soul and it brings you back to life like a flower opening and blooming. Another thing I have is a color by number app on my tablet. I can sit for hours just coloring. It keeps my brain busy instead of stinking thinking. Searching for God, for how God wants me to be, gave me hope. In the beginning, I was like, trudge, trudge, trudge. When is it going to get better? When is it going to get better? I started seeing things God was doing in the people around me. I could see Him at work. God spoke to me through other people, and I didn't have to be listening to them in person. I listened to lots of fellows by podcasts. I listened to the recorded message as if they were speaking directly to me. For me, it was better than in person because I could pause, take notes, listen again, find other recordings from the same speaker, and then listen to speakers or read books that they mentioned. It was a cascade of spiritual nourishment in my ears, in my eyes, in my mind, day in and day out. I was utterly unable to leave it alone. My search for God had become a quest with many sources. I discovered a spigot turned fire hose of spiritual connection. My soul had been thirsting for my whole life. What was God's will for me? I wouldn't call it a fountain of youth, but a wellspring of life. Oh, the final idea that I used as my higher power was I used to be a lone power pole. Out in the country, there are rows of power poles, one every 300 feet. That brings power to the rural houses. I was the last one on the line. The power dead ended with me. When my power pole got knocked down or the wire was cut, I had nothing. I had nothing. That's where I was. isolated, and not connected to anyone. God didn't mean for us to do this alone. So what I have found is that I needed to build a power station instead. I need to build a power station of connections. I did a 5-day detox from flour and sugar 4 times from 2021 to 2023. After the fourth time, I said out loud, I'm going to keep connected no matter what. I was so isolated. I was scared, but I had to be honest that I was afraid to make phone calls. Then a fellow in my fourth detox group turned me on to making video calls. I had an iPhone and never knew it was possible. I got so much hope from that because I could see you, and it made all the difference in the world. I could see myself actually doing the things I was afraid to do. Now, when I talk on the phone or meet people on Zoom, it is virtual face to face, body language, smiles, laughter, tears, compassion, patience, and everything a cold call could never give me. I had started a free Zoom account, 40 minutes per session, when COVID started, but no one seemed willing to let go of in-person meetings starting up again. But I used it for a while with a sponsee in Iowa, and it worked so well that I eventually signed up for an unlimited time account. Now I host a study group every week and have been for 18 months. I meet sponsees almost every day. I send video messages and I am super connected. I was such a lone power pole. So if you're a lone power pole, oh my God, get connected. Get connected. Reach out. Sometimes people don't reach back, but it's not about what they do. It's about what you do. If you honestly want what I have found, go and build your connections, build the fellowship you crave, and don't forget to have fun. Woohoo! The most vital thing I have gotten in this quest was discovering how Bill W. stayed sober for 6 months. After that earth-shattering spiritual experience, studying his recovery, who was he talking to? What was he reading? Old recordings of his talks are out there. But he mentions in the big book, The Varieties of Religious Experiences by William James. It's in one of the prefaces, I think. I heard it's hard to read, but you know what? You look it up on YouTube and you can search for William James. There's a ton of videos out there where you can learn what Bill W. was studying. If you want to be a student of recovery, research Bill W. I made it a scavenger hunt, and every time I learned something new that no one had ever talked about, I was elated and energized. It's okay to listen to someone else's discoveries about AA history, but go on a treasure hunt and find new things to share. Don't forget the very first teacher we, with the disease of addiction, had was Bill W. Studying Bill W. worked miracles in my quest for God of my recovery. And here I have some recommended resources that have been very meaningful and helpful to me. And right now I do this big book workshop with this all fellowship one for women only. There's also another one here hosted by Herb K. And they go all year round and you can join anytime, anytime. I've been very, very happy and honored to be able to share this with anyone who's listening. And oh my gosh, come join us in the Fellowship of the Spirit. It can be done. Yee-haw! Keep coming back.